name is Shauna Snyder, and we are from Big Bear City, California.
And you are?
I'm Ashley Snyder, same
Okay.
place.
And you were injured by the Gardasil?
Yeah, injured by the Gardasil vaccine.
Okay, so the first thing I think we should do is establish as a family, you as a mum, what your thoughts on vaccines as your daughter was growing up.
I am the mom of 5 daughters, so all of my daughters were vaccinated. You went in for your normal appointments, and the doctor said they needed these vaccines, and we got them. To my knowledge, none of my girls had had any adverse reactions to them. However, looking back now, I realized that they did actually have adverse reactions to them. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. And then when our youngest, who is almost 10, when she went in for her 2-year appointment, her pediatrician had told us about the Gardasil vaccine and that I should get it for my 2 oldest daughters. Ashley has an older sister, and that I should look into it and give it to them. So I brought the information home, discussed it with my husband. We thought it was a great idea because as a mother, I did not want any of my daughters to get cervical cancer in their 30s and not have not be around their children, and I didn't want my grandkids to lose their mother. So I decided that giving my girls the Gardasil vaccine was the best thing. So then we had a local doctor in Big Bear that we went to also, and I discussed it with him, and he gave it to his daughter and fully backed it that we needed to do this. So I scheduled the girls their first appointment, and something in me told me to cancel the appointment. So I canceled it. Decided I wasn't going to give it to them. And then, against my better judgment, I thought, no, the doctor said they need this, so I rescheduled the appointment. The morning of the appointment, I actually called the doctor's office and verified that there were no adverse side effects with this and nothing would happen to my girls. And the lady at the front desk actually paused and said, no, it should be fine. Big clue right there. So we went ahead and went in for the appointment. And that was in June of 2007. And approximately 16 days later, she was outside playing in 2009. Yeah, sorry, 2009, June of 2009. She was outside playing with friends, and
How old were you then?
12.
And your older sister got it as well?
And she was 17.
17.
Okay.
She was 17. So she was outside playing with friends, and she comes in, she's like, my legs aren't working right. They feel funny. And she's a dancer. She's been dancing since she was 4 years old. So she's very in tune with her body, knows what's going on. And I was like, I'm sure you're fine, no big deal. So that night she goes upstairs and she takes a bath, and she's like, I still don't feel right. My legs feel funny. And
Do you remember what that feeling was like?
It was like when your legs fall asleep and they like get that tingly sensation. It's like that's what it felt like, but they weren't waking up.
Like a dead leg, you know, when you have a dead
like
leg.
it almost just felt like 1,000 little needles poking in my leg, but it didn't hurt. It just felt like I had sat on my foot for so long, and then it fell asleep and it just wasn't waking up.
We hear that same effect from so many, the pins, needles, and the burning and things like that. We hear that a lot, so thank you.
so she goes to bed that night. We live in a 2-story house, and the next morning I come downstairs and she's laying on the couch, and she just matter-of-factly says, I can't walk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, my legs don't work. So, but backing up, that night before she went to bed, I had handed her something, and her hands started going funny. They were not normal. When she reached for something, they were like tweaked. She did not grab normally. So the next morning she tells me that she can't walk. I ask her to stand up. She literally stands up and hits the floor. I ask her how she got downstairs. She used the wall and then scooted down the stairs. Why she didn't wake me up, I have no idea, but that's Ashley. So I actually ended up giving my dad a call to find out what was going on and let him know if something was wrong with her. And he called one of his friends who was a doctor, and he said that I needed to get her into the ER immediately, that it sounded like it was ascending paralysis, which that's the layman's terms, which it was Guillain-Barré syndrome. We had actually taken her to our local ER the night before because I didn't know what was wrong with her, and she actually had epilepsy. So we thought maybe this was some form of a seizure that she was having, that her legs weren't working.
And this is all after just one Gardasil.
16 days later. So our local hospital tells us that no, it's not seizures, that she needs to, it's just growing pains. That's all it was. It was growing pains. Sent us home with crutches. In the parking lot at the ER, she falls and hits the ground. Nurses come out and help me. And they're like, don't you want to go back in? And I'm like, no. I said, I have 5 kids. This is not growing pains. I'm not going back in there. So we actually ended up calling her neurologist. They again said that it wasn't, it did not sound like seizures, but to come in the next morning.
Have you, at any point, have you said she's had this vaccination?
No, I have not put it together. I have not put it together at all. So this is all happening during one day. All of this is going on in one day. So I get a hold of my dad. My dad says that no, we need to get her in immediately. And it's about an hour and 20-minute drive to Loma Linda, which is a big hospital. So I get her down there, and when I get down there, that's when my dad notifies me that what it sounds like she has, if it progresses, can actually shut down her respiratory system. So the doctor who had talked to my dad actually wanted her to go down by ambulance or by helicopter, but they didn't tell me that. So we get her down there, and she's checked in immediately. Loma Linda is a very, very busy hospital. You wait to be seen, but she's literally in within 1 hour. And they bring a doctor in, and I asked the doctor, I said, I don't mean to step on toes or anything, but I need to ask, is this ascending paralysis? And he says, yes, it's Guillain-Barré syndrome. So,
It actually says that.
yes. So they end up doing a spinal on her. They tell us we're going to be in the hospital for a few days. So I call her dad. Her dad was working out of town, and said, I think you need to come back. Because she's going to be in the hospital for a few days. Coincidentally, our oldest daughter had just graduated high school. She was actually in Denmark on her senior trip, visiting family, so she was not there to help take care of her 3 younger sisters, who at the time were 2, 4, and like 6 or 7. And so he comes home, and we had to wait for her to get a room, and they actually started marking her. You can see the marks on her legs. They actually took a marker, and they marked her legs where the paralysis was going up. So as the day went on and the paralysis went up, they marked where she was losing feeling. Best case scenario, it hits their waist and then it reverses itself and goes back down. In her case, it did not hit her waist and go back down. It continued. So we're in what they call a step-down unit, which has a lot of monitoring, and she was being monitored. And those are her 3 little sisters when they came to see her. But I had no idea at this point how severe things were. And they bring me in paperwork as they're getting her set up. They bring me in paperwork, and that talks about Guillain-Barré. And the first line of it says that you can get Guillain-Barré from a vaccine, being sick, or uncooked chicken. I immediately knew what it was. And I told the nurse, I go, she just had a vaccine 16 days ago. And she's like, which one was it? And I said, it was Gardasil. So now at least they knew how she got it, because she hadn't been sick. She had not had uncooked chicken. So we're here. They, at this point, she's starting to not be able to swallow, so they have to do an NG tube. I still really have no idea what Guillain-Barré is, the extent of it. And I just remember, my husband was there, the girls were there, a friend of ours was there, My dad may have even been there, and I just remember nurses rushing in, and she's struggling to breathe. And as a mother, I felt so horrible because I'm standing right next to her, and I had no idea that my daughter couldn't breathe. So within a few minutes, they actually transferred her to the PICU, which is the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit at Loma Linda. And within a few minutes of being there, she stopped breathing, and they had to bag her and get her to come back, and they did. And I did not want them to intubate her because it looks so horrible. So they went ahead and put her on a BiPAP machine, and if you really get close to the picture, you can see how much she was struggling to try and breathe. And I honestly didn't even notice that until after she got out of the hospital. But she was on that for, I think, less than 24 hours. And then they said that things were getting worse and that she needed to be intubated. So she was actually intubated around midnight between July 1st and July 2nd. And this is what that's what we walked into. It got to the point where she couldn't talk anymore. Her older sister is a sign language interpreter, and so the girls had learned to sign, at very least finger spelling. So it got to the point where Ashley had to finger spell to tell us what was going on, and any pain and anything like that. So that's what we walked into, was her being intubated. The reason they intubated her is because her heart rate was so high. They needed her to relax so that her heart rate would go down. Her heart rate did not go down after this. To this day, she has a very high resting heart rate that has never completely got down. But her heart rate was, oh my God, 150, 160. I mean, it was up there, and it just never came back down. She was just hooked up to just so many things in there. And I remember them telling us that they had not seen a case of Guillain-Barré this severe at that hospital in such a long time, that had actually just kept going up and just immobilized everything on her. We opted to have her sedated so that she didn't know what was going on. She had no recollection of it until pictures. As things progressed, they started backing off of her meds so that she would start waking up some, and we were hoping to get, some of the feeling back, because just as it goes up, it descends. So it goes back down the body. We were actually scheduled to, my husband and I signed papers to have a tracheotomy done on her, and my husband and I are Christians, we believe. I walked in the room that morning that she was supposed to have surgery, and it was like God hit me with a broom or something on the back of the head, and it was, don't do the surgery. And so I'm telling my husband, and he's like, no, I think we need to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, we don't need to do the surgery. I said, they haven't backed off on her breathing yet. The machine is doing everything for her. We need to, they need to start backing off. We need to trust this. And within 24 hours, she started breathing some on her own. And as the weeks went on, they were able to extubate her. She was in Loma Linda, intubated for about 3 weeks, and then we stayed an additional week, waiting to be transferred to a rehab hospital. But the whole time we were there, I kept asking the doctors, I'm like, is she going to be okay? Is she going to survive this? Is she going to live? And they're like, we're doing everything we can, but we don't know.
And after you spoke to the nurse about the Gardasil vaccine, what happened with that? Did the doctors acknowledge it was the Gardasil vaccine?
Not really. The nurses did. All of the nurses knew what it was, but the doctors did not. The doctors did not. It is in her medical records, very briefly, but that part was never discussed with us. That was always pushed to the side. The nurses are the ones who came in. Now, we do know that it was discussed in rounds and when the doctors were sitting at the table, because the nurses would tell us that it was being discussed that it was Gardasil. But to us, no, they didn't.
Okay.
So we couldn't touch her. If we touched her, as the sensation came back, she said it was like someone was ripping the skin off her body. Very, very painful. You could, in the morning, you could probably touch her on her arm. And then if you came back in the afternoon from doing something, you would try and touch her arm again, and you couldn't touch her arm. You'd have to touch her leg. So the sensation was just excruciating. We did plasmapheresis and IVIG. Both of those things are to try and reverse.
Was this the mainstream doctors are recommending this?
Yes, yes. So we, she had all these things trying to slow down and stop the Guillain-Barré, and it really didn't work. They did a nerve test on her to find out how bad the damage was, and I actually was not there that day. My husband and I never left her side. One of us were with her 24/7. So I was not with her when they did this test, but they told my husband that she's not going to be able to feel it, and she could actually feel it, and it was a very excruciating, painful test that they did on her.
I remember parts of it because I remember my dad being there and wanting my dad to stop.
It ends up that the damage done to her nerves was very extensive. So it didn't just destroy the myelin sheath. Hers actually went further and started destroying the axon. So she has, nerve damage still. Then they had to start physical therapy in the hospital before we started moving. So this was her when they first tried to move her, and you can see how painful it was for her. My dad was actually with her on that one because my husband and I were at the rehab hospital interviewing them and checking it out, and he said her screams were unbelievable that day, trying to get her to move because she couldn't move. And with her being a dancer, we kept her body moving the whole time. I mean, we were constantly doing our therapy with her. And with her being a dancer, we literally, when she was on the bed, she was in a full splits. I mean, legs completely out. And as the Guillain-Barré just progressed, we couldn't move her legs at all. And then these are her as she's getting ready to go to the rehab hospital. That's actually my dad. And he was there the whole time too. As you can see, they still, at this point, she still couldn't eat. So she still has an NG tube.
Brave girl with a big smile.
Oh, she was. She has never, ever, ever stopped fighting. I think she argued with us once in the hospital and told us she was refusing to go to the rehab hospital, and her dad looked at her and said, "Then get up and walk out of here." And she's like, "I can't." He goes, "So we're going to the rehab hospital." She did. She has never lost the smile on her face. From Loma Linda, she was transferred to Orange County. We were transferred further away from our kids. And
what was her reasoning for doing that?
It was a rehab hospital for children. It's a children's rehab hospital. There was one locally, but it was not as good. And so we wanted the best for her, so we went further. We were there a month, and she went through physical therapy every single day. They did physical therapy, they did occupational therapy, really hard. I mean, to see your 12-year-old in a walker and a wheelchair. But they got her walking again. And that was on the bicycle. That was probably her most fun day, that she got to ride a bicycle.
How long did this take you out of school? How long was it?
I am homeschooled, and this actually happened during the summer, so I did not miss any school.
You just missed all summer.
I just
She
missed
had
my whole summer.
No summer.
I had a week About 2 weeks of summer
Yeah,
vacation.
all of my girls do online school, so none of them missed any school with any of
Someone's
this.
asking what kind of dancing you did.
Then I did ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop. Pretty much everything I could possibly do, I did.
And do you still dance?
I still
She
dance.
still does.
You're back dancing again.
I was back, I want to say, within a week I got home. I was back, even though I had to be, I had to have like help, but my dance teacher put a rocking chair in, and I danced with the girls, and I went to every single dance class and every single rehearsal we had, and I even walked on for our recital that we had that I was supposed to be in. I walked on stage just to do that, so it didn't keep me out of dance at all.
So, and this is just a cute picture, but this was her little 2-year-old sister helping pushing her through the hallways.
Oh. It's amazing that you recovered from this.
Yeah, and our biggest, what was hard is when I was in the hospital, actually another mom got a hold of me, and she had actually lost her daughter to Gardasil. That's when I started realizing that this
Is
was
this a
something
story
big.
that we've covered, or is it another one?
Probably it's Christina.
Right.
And that's when I started realizing, and we reported with VAERS and the doctor's office and everything else that happened.
So you got it reported.
Yeah. So we, at this point, I didn't realize that other girls had actually had side effects from Gardasil, and I was so thankful that my daughter Lindsay, that was in Denmark, actually did not have any side effects
And
like she
obviously
did.
did not have any. Do you have you stopped vaccinating? after
Yes.
this?
Yes, all of our girls were immediately stopped being vaccinated. Tiffany, the littlest one, her last set was her 2-year shots. The other 2 girls have hit junior high, no vaccines. We sign all the forms. With them being homeschooled and doing online school, we're very fortunate because in California now, kids have to be vaccinated to go to school.
Which is criminal.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Are they more pictures of recovery?
They are. This was our biggest thing was that she would walk out of the hospital, and she did on a walker. Barely made it to the car, but she did it.
Good girl. This must have been awful for your daddy as well.
It was.
See his little girl.
It was horrible, and thank God he was there the entire time with us. He was able to take off 2 months of work, so that we could just be with her around the clock. Ashley was talking about, she went right back into dance immediately.
How could you do that when your legs didn't really sort of work?
I didn't care.
You didn't care, you just made yourself do it.
It was gonna do it one way or the other.
Yeah, she
it
did
did.
not give up. She did not give up. But this is what she was talking about. She walked on stage. She did not get to perform, but she walked on stage.
Oh, your dance teacher looks amazing. She's been so supportive.
She was. And she actually said it scared her to death to walk on stage with Ashley because she thought she was going to fall. We went through, when we got home, she went through physical therapy at the hospital. And after about 6 months, physical therapy was done. And the doctors and the therapist said, this is as good as she's going to get. That's it. No more. And I looked at him like, she's 13 years old. She actually turned 13 in the hospital. I looked at him, I said, she's 13 years old. This cannot be it. She's 13. And so I started making phone calls, and they suggested we put her in Pilates with an instructor with a dance background. And that was what we did. And she continues to do her Pilates sometimes. She does stuff at home, but the biggest thing is she never stopped dancing. She kept dancing. She'll never dance professionally, which was her dream. Her body can't handle it, but she has made other dreams and goals now. But this picture here was taken about a year and a half afterwards.
Wow, look at you.
Oh, no, not that one. That one was probably taken about 4 years afterwards.
Yeah, because I was in high school already
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, she was just out of high school on that one. So we've made
What an amazing dancer you are.
Thank you.
huge strides. But yeah, she's changed her goals, but it's still all around dance. But you can tell.
Yeah, basically I went from, oh my gosh, the age of 4 telling my parents that I wanted to dance professionally, to I decided that that wasn't an option, and I realized that I think before my mom did. I actually had to tell her, like, I don't think professional, it's gonna work for me anymore. Just because I would go to rehearsal and get off stage crying and then go back on to dance and then come back off crying because I just hurt so much. I have changed my goals to open up a dance studio that is for kids that are disabled, whether it is they are young little kids or they're school age kids, teenagers, or adults that have been told they can't dance or that they can't do anything and they're in wheelchairs or walkers, or they have a mental disability or mental and physical disability, because that, I'm not gonna lie, before I was in a wheelchair I didn't really care about people in wheelchairs or handicapped people. I just turned my shoulder. But then being in one, you realize, like, you get a lot of looks, and you get looks and people judge and don't think you can do anything. And so I decided that I wanted to help those people, and I teach a special needs class, and I'm going to school to get my certification to teach dance, so that I can become a dance teacher and continue dancing and
Wow,
teaching.
you are an inspiration. We're really proud of you. Thank you for that.
But we, traditional medicine doesn't work with her anymore. We gave up on it. She sees a doctor out of Woodland Hills. She's on supplements, special diet now.
Chiropractic?
She does chiropractic also, out of Long Beach. And supplements at one point, I think she does live on her own now. We weren't sure that was going to happen, but she does. At one point, her cabinet and her refrigerator had more supplements in it than food.
Yeah.
But she's gotten through all that. She does have Lyme disease also. That was one thing that they're noticing with a lot of these Gardasil kids, that they have Lyme disease now. So something triggered it, and we didn't believe it. And a lot of moms contacted me and said, you need to have this test done. And lo and behold, she had it. Even the doctor was shocked. So I think she just went and had the test done again
Yeah.
to see where we're at with that. None of this is covered by our insurance. It only covers traditional medicine. So the chiropractor, I think she had 12 visits. That was done in 4 months.
Yeah.
All the supplements, any of that stuff, the Lyme test, anything we do is all out of pocket for my husband and I.
So what an awful experience you've been through. We're all of us so sorry that you've been through that, but you're an amazing young woman and you're going to do amazing things. And thank you on behalf of all of our children that have been injured for opening your dance school. You must keep us informed so we can
Yes.
we can have you
will.
periscope in from your dance school.
We
Yes.
will.
What would you say to the mother who's about to take her daughter or son for their routine vaccines and all the Gardasil?
Don't do it and do your research. I will never ever vaccinate my children because it's Russian roulette. Like my older sister, she was not affected by it. I was. And going through it, I would never wish that upon anyone. Ever.
You're an amazing human being, you know that. Thank you, and you're educating so many as well. And these people really love you. It's a bit, my internet's not great here. We may sort it out for the next one, but let me show you if I can get some internet, how many hearts are coming in for you guys. We are Baxter there, and they're sending you loads of hearts. And how are Autism Mothers doing? You're getting hearts
there's a
from
bunch of
Autism
hearts
Mothers?
on it.
You're getting hearts from all different angles, but these Periscope peeps, I can't tell you how much I love you. Now, we've already signed a bus for you, haven't we?
Yes.
Yes.
But she needs to put her heart by it.
Let's go and do that.